Consider the code segment below. So we have these 8 lines of code. Which of the following changes will not affect the results when the code segment is executed? So it's asking if we implement one of these changes here into this code, which one of these will not change the result, meaning the values of A and B. So A says changing line 3 to B is assigned the value 10. So if in this code, instead, this line here changes to B is assigned the value of 10 at line 3. So let's see what the code does before and after the change. So before, here we have this if statement that checks if A is equal to 0. If A is 0, then the value of B is 0 plus 10, because we know that the value of A is 0, since up here we checked that A is equal to 0, and if this is true, meaning A is equal to 0, then and only then will whatever's inside these two curly braces for this if statement run. So this assignment operation here at line 3 only runs when this if statement is true, and this if statement says that if A is true, then run this line of code here. And since A is equal to 0, and that just means B is getting assigned a value of 10. And then if A is not 0, so if A wasn't 0, so A was like 5 or something, then that means A equals 0 would return false, so we wouldn't run this, we would just skip over this and move on to the else. And the else says assign B a value of A plus 20. So whatever A was, in this example we said A is like 5, so then B would be assigned a value of 25. So we see here that if A is 0, B equals 10, and if A is not 0, then B equals whatever A is plus 20. Answer choice A says change line 3 to B is assigned the value of 10. And this would indeed not change the results. This doesn't change the value of A. A is still whatever the initial value of A is. And B would be assigned a value of 10 regardless. Because if we are ever executing this line inside the if statement, inside these two curly braces, this means that whatever was in the if statement has to be true. And we know that if A is 0, then 0 plus 10 is just 10. So either way, whether it says B is assigned A plus 10 or B is just assigned 10, B is going to have a value of 10 because A is 0. So this change here will not change the value of B. So A is likely the correct answer, but let's check the others first. B says changing line 3 to A's assigned value of B plus 10. So obviously, if we here, let's erase this to give us some more room. If at line 3, the statement is changed to become A is assigned the value of B plus 10, this would be a drastic change because instead of assigning B to a certain value, we would be assigning A to a certain value. We would be changing the value of A. So obviously this is going to change the results because the original code here is assigning B to the value of 10. And in this case, if A was 0, B wouldn't even be assigned a value in this code at all. So answer choice B is obviously incorrect. Answer choice C says changing line 7 to B is assigned the value of 20. So before we go ahead and do that, let's get rid of this old code here. So changing line 7 here to become B is assigned the value of 20. So this looks similar to A, where we're like simplifying the statement here, but this is not the same because here, this line only runs when the else statement runs. And the else statement runs when if the condition inside the if statement is false. And if this is false, this statement A equals 0, that means A is a non-zero number. It means A is some number and it's not equal to 0. That means the value of B is going to be that non-zero number plus 20. So we can't just simply set B equal to 20 because that would be getting rid of the whatever value of A is. This would only be an equivalence change if A was equal to 0. But we know that A is not 0 since this is inside the else statement. A is only 0 when the conditional in the if statement up here is true. So C is also incorrect. This would change the value of B for values of A that are non-zero. Answer choice D says change line 7 to A is equal to B plus 20. So answer choice D says we're going to change line 7 so that instead it says A to assign the value of B plus 20. So obviously, again, this is a massive change because instead of assigning B to some value, answer choice D is saying we need to assign A to some value. And this is obviously changing the code because in this case, if A is non-zero, meaning the else statement here runs, B wouldn't even be assigned a value, and we'd be changing the value of A when we actually wanted to assign a value to B. So D is incorrect. So the only one that didn't change the values of A and B after implementing the change in code is answer choice A.